Well, I think initially God's kind of put on my heart a desire to be involved in missions in some way, and I have been a little bit in years past, but we had this opportunity as a church. The BGCO has recommended Latvia as one of the areas that's open right now. We don't know for how long. But, and as a group, we gathered together and had several areas that we were considering. And I think Latvia God just kind of put Latvia on our hearts.
It was a couple years ago, we were at a Send conference, and that really just helped me be on fire to want to go to other places and share the gospel. And one of the verses, and it's actually the verse that is on our shirts, and I'll read it. Romans chapter 10, verses 14 through 15. Actually, I'm going to back up to 13. For everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. How then can they call on the one they have not believed in? And how can they believe in the one of whom they have not heard? And how can they hear without someone preaching to them? And how can they preach unless they are sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news.
Well, I was surprised at how progressive the city is. I was expecting a little more of a rural setting, but Riga is a really big progressive city. The people are very tech savvy, educated, but you immediately sense in them this kind of closed. They're kind of closed off. It's a little difficult as you're walking down the streets of Riga, you're not being greeted with smiles and like you are in Blanchard and a wave. People are busy and closed off. And
it was hard. It was really hard. I remember getting there. We got there and it was dark. And so I'm in this place halfway across the world, away from my family, and it was very hard. Just getting there and going up into the loft where my bed was, and just crying and just crying out to the Lord, like, why did I decide to do this? You know, I'm so far from my babies and from my husband, and it's really hard.
I had one 12-year-old, Leonards, who reached out to myself and Shanna and maybe others across this last year through social media.
Oh, wow.
And so he remembers us. I think he really, over that short time together, really developed a real love for us and us for him. And so we saw that in the kids and how they accepted us.
I think really, just in general, my biggest prayer is that we would be faithful to share the truth, to share the gospel plain and simple with each of these students, and that God would use us as his means by which he draws his people to himself.
The Latvian people they're easy to love. They are. Even with that guardedness about them, they're an easy people to love. And so I think as we continue, be praying about a continued alliance with them, a continued alliance with the pastors and their families on the ground there, prayer for them, but also pray about the opportunity for you to go, because I'm convinced that we go to be a blessing, but we get the biggest blessing, getting to go, and God just really blesses us through that. And so just be in prayer about those things. And if you can't physically go, however you can support not only Latvia, but the other mission ventures we have going on in our church. That's part of our calling, is to go out and make disciples. And so I think that would be it.